that spike is about you taking agency and autonomy over your own like academic and extracurricular career. It shows you not just participating in things, but like actively driving something. And it shows like a deeper passion and excitement for some component of your life, right? That extra investment. So today, I think I want to talk a little bit about what makes a strong student in US applications. And the first thing to acknowledge is that there's over 3,000 universities and colleges doing bachelor's degrees in the US, which means that there are 3,000 plus admissions offices thinking about who would be a good fit for their campus. And if you are applying to a school that is in California and has 40,000 people, what they're looking for might be a bit different than a small liberal arts college in upstate New York, like the one that I went to, or than a mid-sized research university in South Carolina. So there isn't a single place that would work for everybody, and that means the admissions offices, as they think about who's a good match for their community, is going to be evaluating you on their like metric and the things that matter to them. This is one of the reasons that research is so important, because if you are doing a good job of thinking about your fit for the school, that you are actually, if you are actually reflecting on what kind of place would bring out the best in you, where you would flourish, the chances are that the kind of school that resonates with that is going to feel the same way about you, right? If you are thinking to yourself, oh wow, I'd really be overwhelmed going to a school that's really big, and I don't particularly care about sports or school spirit, and my goal is not research, and I'm looking for a mentor to help kind of shepherd me through all of this. But my parents want me to apply to a research university, so I'm going to try to convince the University of Wisconsin or the University of Minnesota or the University of Virginia that I'm like a good fit for them. You're going to be putting on an identity for that, because it doesn't really sound like what they do is necessarily the best match for what it is that you're looking for. Not to say that you couldn't like grow into that space and be okay there, but like, if you're thinking about how to present yourself in a way that suits the community that you are applying to, the first step is finding a community that resonates with who you are, so that you can just be yourself and show who you are in a way that lets them see what is authentic and awesome about you, so that they can see that that success is possible. And that's kind of the next thing. Schools are looking for students who will be successful on campus. One, because that's the purpose of their institution, to help people go through the 4 years of a bachelor's degree. But also because if you don't do well there, if you transfer, if you fail, if you drop out, all of those things make them look bad. There are metrics that measure how many kids actually finish in 4 years, how many kids actually graduate that started there. And if you go and then aren't happy or successful, it makes them look bad as well, besides the fact that they obviously don't want people there who aren't enjoying it. So when they are evaluating you, the first step is that they are going to be thinking about whether you are able to be academically successful there. And they are going to use your transcript more than anything else to judge that, because your ability to sort of hack it academically is best measured by that transcript. If you go to a really difficult high school and you can do the science and the physics and chemistry classes that are in that high school, then a really selective science program is probably going to think, oh, okay, you know what? This kid's going to be okay. He's done all of these things before, or this student is going to be fine. We can see from her transcript that she took the hardest level of calculus and physics classes that were available. But in addition to understanding whether you're academically successful, they are thinking about whether you are going to be someone who sort of fits into their community. And this is where your extracurriculars come in. They're going to look at what you've done with your time outside of the classes that you've taken as an indication of what you're probably going to be doing when you're there. If you're someone who just went to class and did the requirements in high school but didn't necessarily try new things, or join clubs, or participate in competitions, or volunteer, or get an internship, it's going to be hard for you to argue that you are intellectually curious and brave and trying new things in university as an identity, because it's not something that you've done before. So I've been doing this for 12 years, and one of the things that has sort of shifted is that in the early years of my advising, I think a lot of schools, even the schools in the top 50, really seemed to like students who had well-rounded profiles, right? They were students who did some volunteering but were also in a sport, who had something creative. They had this sort of broad, exploring personality where they weren't necessarily hyper-focused on one area, but they could show that they were comfortable trying new things. And in some ways that matches the liberal arts idea of the US, right? That even if you're a chemistry student, you're probably going to take a history class. You're probably going to try something in philosophy because they encourage you to do that thinking. These days, especially with selective schools, in addition to showing that you are an explorer, that you like to try new things, we are looking a little bit more for, I don't want to use the word specialization because it doesn't really work, but let's call it like a spike, like an extra amount of emphasis on one particular area of your life. That might relate to your major, but it might also relate to a project that you got really involved in. They want to see that something in your range of activities and experiences pulled you in deeper, that you were like, no, I want to do more of this. I want to go beyond the surface. And that spike could be something in athletics where you take on a leadership role and you're coaching younger students and you're like really active in your school's athletic community beyond just being an athlete. But it also might be that you decided from the volunteering that you were doing that you wanted to build a curriculum for like art classes for senior citizens. Or it might be that you realized that all the sort of pay to play science competitions were crap because you don't want to give someone $5,000, and so instead you built a science camp for kids in your apartment building. That spike is about you taking agency and autonomy over your own like academic and extracurricular career. It shows you not just participating in things, but like actively driving something, and it shows like a deeper passion and excitement for some component of your life, right? That extra investment. If everything is balanced, it's not bad, but it makes it a little bit harder to remember you in like a serious way because there are so many awesome and competitive students. Whereas if you're a kid who spent the entire summer growing a community garden on the roof of your apartment building, they're going to remember that sort of spike as a key aspect of who you are because it's a little bit random, but also like shows some deeper personality that is more than just like box ticking for the common application. A lot of kids ask me questions about whether they should be doing lots of like mentored research through one of the pay-to-play programs that are available, and they are cool. You do get a lot of experience doing research that you might not otherwise do. They ask me if they should be doing the competitions to get awards. And those things are better than nothing, right? The only option that you can find is something that you have to pay to participate in. It's not that those aren't valuable. It's that admissions departments know that what got you into that program isn't aptitude, it's money. And so for them, it's like good that you had it, but not necessarily an indication of you being strong in something or you being like particularly passionate about it. It's really just about you having the funds. And a lot of schools are really trying not to prioritize students who have money. Like they're trying not to give benefits to people just because they have more money. So for them, it's not particularly exciting. That doesn't mean that highly selective schools don't look for awards. You know, if you look at the students who've gotten into MIT and Caltech, a lot of them are doing international competitions. If you look at top 20 kids, especially in STEM programs, the international Olympiads are a good predictor of who ends up in those super competitive programs. But in general, if I were going to be talking to a student who was focusing on the top 50 and was really trying to put together a strong profile, I would say the more active and engaged you can get, the better. And that isn't just the opportunities where you have to pay to participate. There's also such a thing as too many activities. If you are an 11th grader and you have founded 3 different clubs and you are volunteering 10 hours a week and you have a student job, Like, how are you doing that? How are you like deeply engaging and being present in all of these activities at the same time? It doesn't really add up. And a student who's doing a highly rigorous academic workload is also not going to have 40 hours of extracurriculars a week. Like that just isn't possible. So I would much rather someone who had one founder role, who was deeply involved in one thing, and then is a regular member in a few others, than somebody who is trying to claim that they have started 2 companies and run an organization and is committed to summer programs for old people that they started 5 years ago in 9th grade. Like, chill out. They know what is viable for a young person to do with their life. And if you claim to do too many things, it also can move you into the unlikely to be authentic category, especially with the rise of like study abroad companies that fabricate a lot of this stuff for students. Be aware that they understand how much free time a normal teenager would have and are going to be measuring your activity list and the hours of commitment that you are claiming against that understanding of teenagers. The purpose of a strong profile is to show them who you are and who you will be. That is in some ways always going to be an idealized version. You're not showing them the fact that you like stopped volunteering on a Saturday because it was 8 o'clock in the morning and you need to sleep. We're not going to admit that. But what you are showing them is the potential that you hold, the things that you're excited about, and the things you are curious and likely to get involved in when you go to school. And you can say that to them in essays, but what they're going to believe is what they see in the activity profile that you have. So when we think about building a profile, it has grades and it has scores and it has activities and it has letters of recommendation and it has essays. And all of those pieces together are how you convey the person you're going to be. A bit well-rounded, but with that spike, that sort of drive towards 1 or 2 particular things that take up most of your time, that consume you. Those are the kids that like a school admissions officer is going to remember. They look at dozens of applications every day, and you want to be that kid with the roof garden, the roof community garden. You want to be that guy who like rebuilt a robot in his garage one summer. You want to have something that they remember you by. And the likelihood that that is participated in a cool program at Georgetown or like joined that like research competition, those aren't going to be the memorable things. I know it's complicated, and I know that this is a lot less like particular than some of the other countries you might be considering, where like you really have to get this score at this event and then you have a good chance of getting in. As someone who's recently relocated to the UK, the clarity that comes with a UCAS application is not lost on me. But American schools are assessing your fit for their community. They are assessing your fit for the broader university. This is why they let you switch majors, because they're not really just worried about whether you're going to be a good chemistry student. They're thinking about who you are as an intellectual and as a student and as a community member, and thinking about how you will fit into that space that they have.